Hi there! So my latest project is one for the theater again. I have been tasked with building the prop Milky White. Well, I say prop, it's also a puppet. The Milky White puppet for my home theater's upcoming production of Into the Woods. It is currently early December 2nd, and auditions for the performance are in late January with performances in early April, which gives me plenty of time to build this thing. However, I would like to have it done by the time auditions roll around, so I'm looking at about 6 weeks to make it. I've been doing a lot of research. This is the inspiration puppet. That the director sent me photos of. This is kind of what she's looking for. There have been many different kinds of puppets from different theaters, but this is the one she wants. So there will be a person operating it. It needs to have a mouth that can open. Well, she didn't specify, but the cow has to eat things. So I'm guessing she wants the mouth open, and it'll help with showing expressions and such. I'm gonna try to make the mouth open. So the one that they use on Broadway or off Broadway, whatever production the inspiration photo came from, is made out of corrugated cardboard. While I don't have a source of that cardboard that doesn't have creases in it for boxes, I've decided instead to use some foam board. All right, cat not included in cow. So I have 6 sheets of this white foam board, which of course I'll distress, and I'm going to use this for the ribs, I guess, or bone structure of said cow. I have some rope to join them together at the spine, along with some tubing and some black string to hold them together at the bottom. And I'll start by cutting out the pieces. All right, I finally had some time to start cutting out the ribs for Milky White. And looking at my drawing, don't know how well you can see this, but based on the reference photos that the director gave me, she's got all these spines, and they're kind of like shaped like that. I say spines, they're like ribs. Wasn't able to quite get that shape, but a little bit, and I think as I get smaller, I can make them more that shape. They're still a little more squared maybe than what I want. I might still round out these edges a little bit, and then my plan is once I get all of the ribs cut out, excuse me, sir, is to paper mache to strengthen. This is just foam board, and it's, you know, the cow has to die, so I mean it's going to get flopped around. So the paper mache to strengthen it, and then if I need to bulk up anywhere, I can use paper mache for that. And it also will provide a good texture for the dry version. So I've got 2. Round out this one a little bit more. Sharpened this knife once already. I don't have a proper cutting surface, so I'm using like a matte artboard. That's a little better. What about this one? Like that. Is it going to be perfect? No. Here's Maestro. But these ribs will be in the middle anyway, so they won't be seen fully. Okay, so now I just need to get, well, I have a keeper of the mat board. Let's see if I can finagle a piece of mat board away from him. He is 17 pounds, and I didn't want to like snap the foam board. So what happened? So here are the middles. I'm going to keep those for the smaller ones. So looking at my drawing, I've got 1, 2, 3, about 5 that are this size, and then they will concentrically get smaller as I move closer towards the head. And then I will make like a paper mache butt. Somehow. I've got poster board to do that. All right, so now I'm gonna trace. Now with these, I'm gonna be a little more aware of the inside shape. The closer they get to the front, the more nerve. What's the middle, please? I do want the thickness to be roughly the same. So I'm just going to lightly trace, and then I can use that as a guide. I do want this to be a little more rounded. So I might do more, like this shape is, okay, I might start filling it in a little bit more here. Flares a little bit more at the bottom. A little taper. And in the middle, just a little more. Oh, that is way too fast. Nice thing about, ooh. Oh, that's too thin. There. See how that goes. Still a little wonks, but getting there. It's a sickly cow, okay? It's not completely symmetrical. So yeah, I gotta fix it. I gotta fix it. If I keep going, I'm just gonna make it worse. So I'm gonna keep going. Okay. Oof. Okay, so here's another spine. The idea is that I'm going to put a hole in here, and that's how I'm going to connect them all together. So this one's a decent shape. I'll trace it and do it 2 more times. I need 5 of this size. So I've got all the ribs cut out, but there's a shape that I was going for that has like this is the smallest one. So this would be the bottom. This might be, it's definitely crooked, but it's kind of thick right here. I might fix that. Yeah, actually, while I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna fix that right now. But it's kind of a shape to show like lumpy, old, sick cow, bony. A little better. This one may be a little bit fatter than what I need, but it'll be okay because the head's going to be attached here, so this won't even show much. But this is kind of like the vertebrae, and this is kind of like the sternum, I guess. Anyway, they're all meant to have roughly, looks like a toilet seat, roughly this shape. You see the next one behind it has that little dip, but not all of my big ones have the dip because I used up pretty much the entire length I had. So I've been coming along and adding a dip here and a dip here for the vertebrae. And I've done that too. This one had it already, so that one's okay. Well, that's where I cut out of something. So these are all good. I'm making such a mess. So what I'm doing then, that you can't see because you can kind of see that, I'm taking a scrap the piece I want to add the dip here. And I'm kind of lining it up. Oh, this is no longer a dining table. This is my crafter's table. I'm trying to line it up to be, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want the point to be, you know, middle-ish. Tracing along the edge of this, and then like curving out the bottom there. And then I'm going to cut that out. I found that cutting the small piece first is easier while I have a lot of material to hang on to. I'm going to cut along my lines that I traced. Definitely gonna have to get some new blades. I ran this one through the knife sharpener, but it just kind of, a knife sharpener must need to be adjusted because it just made it jaggery. And then take this piece, and it's not going to be exactly perfect, but then I use some masking tape to keep it in place. I am going to be putting a layer of paper mache over everybody, all of the pieces, just to give them more texture and more stability. All right, so I got that one fixed. I have 5 spines this side, one size, 2, and I will determine later what order they're going to go in. 3, 4, and 5 that are roughly the same size. And then I have this one is a bit smaller, and then this one, and then there's the smallest one. So the head will have to be proportionate to this one. That's going to be a whole different thing. So my next step is, and I'm going to be putting holes here because they're going to be held together with this rope, which will show intentionally. And then I have some tubes that will go in between each piece to keep them from running together, like to keep them spaced. So let's just go out to the garage now. And I need a length of that rope, or that tube, so I know how big to make the holes. Ooh, it's dark out here. And it's cold. I don't need a lot. I have a lot. I don't need a lot. And I feel like I already have a piece that's cut. Here we go. No, that's way too much. I'm going to go ahead and cut a length of this so I don't have to haul all of this inside. And I'll be back. Got some. Now back into the house. Alright, so this is the rope that I'm using to string them all together. So the hole that I make needs to be big enough to fit this, but not so big that this slips through, because these are the spacers to hold the spacing. So I found a Dremel head. I'm just going to go through and mark the spot where I want the hole to be in all of these so that they line up. So really I have to just mark how far down from the top they're going to be. Okay, let's see how this goes. You know what I think I need? I think I need my pointy Dremel sander that points and opens. The tapered one. So I'm gonna go get that. I just want to get the whole kit. This one. Doesn't have a lot of grit left. This one looks greater. Fingers crossed. Alright, seems to be working so far. It's gonna be real messy. Alright, here comes the hard part. That looks like a dragon. It's not. So if this is going to be the rib like right underneath her neck, her face has to be not much bigger than that. So I've kind of drawn out the basics just to get the shapes. because her face is very angular to show the gauntness of her. So my plan is to make a base out of poster board that I can then paper mache to make it solid. Her mouth, her jaw, I'm gonna try to figure out how to make it articulate. I'm still puzzling that one. Not really sure how that's gonna go, but I have a piece I can use for her lower jaw. So snout, eyes, her horns will be here, and then of course the ears will be easy to make. So there's kind of from the front, and here's the side. Now the trick is figuring out the pieces that I can glue to or tape together to get the angles that I'm looking for. So I kind of tried to break down the shapes here, but I've never done this before, so I'm not really sure what I'm doing. So this is going to be a lot of trial and error. I've got some pieces of poster board, hopefully that will allow me some trial and error. But I think I'm going to use this, which is going to be my paper mache material, to make the patterns, because after the patterns I can, once I've used them, I can just use them for paper mache. And alrighty, see what I can do. Alright, so I've been playing around with this. I can't quite get the pieces to come together the way I want. So I think what I'm gonna do is paper mache together the snout, the nose and cheek, and the eyes and face area separately to get the shape that I want, and then find a way to attach them all together. And then from there, I can build out the horns, and the ears will be separate that kind of hang from jump rings, so they'll move around, and those will be easy to do. But I think I've got the proportions right, but I'm just struggling to make it come together. So that's what I'm going to try to do. All 3 pieces, and then attach. And if that doesn't work, then I'll just bang my head against the wall a little bit and see what comes from that. Alright, it's time to paper mache. I've looked back at more of the photos, and I needed a piece to be to attach to the butt. And these are going to be like the hips. I guess I'll put them in the right spot. Yeah, they're kind of on the side. So I will attempt to attach a butt piece of paper mache to this, but I'm paper macheing right now. Excuse me, sir. No, thank you. Alright, so I'm going to put them in order, number them, and then paper macheing. I've got this cover so I don't get glue all over my table. I've got a crap ton of glue. I'm probably going to water it down just a touch for viscosity. And then I've got a bowl, a couple of paintbrushes to smear it, and one bowl will be for my glue, but the other bowl I think I'm going to use, oh my, that's dirty, as a stilt to kind of hold up the butt part. We'll see. I think this one will probably, which one's taller? The shorter one will be my stilt. So let me get set up and then I'll be back. Alright, I got my space all ready. I've got the butt back there. Get out of there. I've got this guy who's going to get in my way. My bowl where I'm going to put my glue. I've got scraps of newsprint. I don't know how long I've had that newsprint pad, but those are going to be my paper mache. Excuse me. I know it fits, you sits, but no fits, no sits, please. Get me some paper mache going here. And get started. I don't want to do too much. I'm going to work in small batches, because whatever glue I make, I'm going to have to use all of it before I can stop and do other things. So, just start sticking that down. That bowl's a little bit too tall. Maybe I'll do the paper mache with the face skin here and let it dry out. That's maybe just to get my fingers in this. Alright. Barely making a mess. You can't even see. Oh, hello, there you are. The idea too is that I want the butt to obviously go all the way around. And now it's too flat. I need to bring it all back. It's got to be able to dry in the right shape. So I've done one coat of paper mache on some of the things. This is the butt. We'll see if it dries in the right shape. I think I might have to move it this way a little bit. I can always adjust. I put some slits here so that I can kind of fold this to make it a little more curved, but that'll give me a start. Got a couple of the smaller ribs there. I'll have to do the other side as well. And then I've got part of the face, and really what I was just needing, it's crooked, is for it to dry and harden in this shape so I can work with it. And then I've got the nose started over here. Same thing, I just need it to harden in that shape so I can build up on it. And still have plenty of this left, which is good. And I'll let this dry, and then I'll get some more done because I still have a whole stack of ribs back there. I just don't have room on my table for all of them at once. I have made some progress. So here's kind of where I'm at. I've got Milky's face. I'm just adding a few more layers just to give it a little more depth and kind of like the shape I want. I just added the horns. These are the flaps where I'm going to attach her ears, and then some fillers. So I need to cover all this in paper mache, cover the nostrils. I'm going to work on the jaw later once I get the shape of the face right. And I've got all of her ribs paper mache, and I've got her hip joints.
Ouch, just kicked a board.
I've got all of the hip joints here, but they are still drying, so I won't paper mache those till the glue is dry. I feel like the rump needs another layer just to be secure.
Let's get the yacht.
And then I went ahead and put the legs together. I just need to cover these in a layer of paper mache. And then I'll put holes up here for...
What is this?
That is another rib. I just need to finish covering it. Since starting this, I have been given a list of more props to make, so those will be their own videos because that's going to be too long if it's all. And I will also, excuse me, sir. I will also be the one manipulating the cow on stage, which is great.
You got cast.
Because I was kind of worried. Woohoo! I was kind of worried about somebody else handling her and like being able to film with it. I'm here, just being nice. So it'll be me, so I don't have to worry about that. Which is sir.
Dog. I need to get this dog.
So I am going to get all this paper mache on here. Once all the layers are on and dry and I'm satisfied with the shape of everything, I can paint and assemble. All right, ignore my mad scientist here. We're having a snowpocalypse, the first one of the season. It's a year, and I haven't left the house in 3 days. So I'm almost done with paper mache, and then I'll paint. The next thing I have to do before I can really paper mache farther on some of the places, further, I'm an English teacher, before I can paper mache further on some of the pieces, I have to attach the handle. So I had these giant popsicle sticks. So I put 3 of them together with glue and cut them in half. And then I also had this dowel, just had it because I knew that. And so I thought, okay, this will be the handle. So it'll attach to the back, the butt, or the head with this popsicle stick. And so I wanted to, then I'll nail these together. Or maybe I'll put a screw in there. I just don't want it to end up sticking out because the screw can't go any farther. And the nail doesn't, I don't know. I'll make a pilot. I'm just worried that it won't go all the way. Anyway, I'm not quite sure what to do about that. Anyway, so to attach this piece, like this will be the back of the head because the back of the head is flat, it's not rounded. It looks like a fake cow. It's going to be attached like this. So I'm going to see if I can do this without making a hole in my cabinet or my whatever this is, countertop, or cracking the wood. Let me see if this will work. Oh shoot. I'm afraid of that. split the wood a little. That's better. Okay. Oh no. This one split a lot. So I'm going to get in there with my glue and glue it together. See, it's easy on foam board. Okay. There's that. The other one's going to attach to the butt. I really don't want to mess that up. So the problem though is that all of the spine pieces are going to be attached with rope. And oh yeah, there's the hole for that. So this is where the rope will feed through to keep it from falling apart, right here. Which means that the handle will have to be offset enough to allow that. All right, so everything's been paper mache'd. Got 4 legs. This is the jaw. Here's where I'm gonna put her hinges. Got some screws. There's her beautiful face. Some udders, which are kind of big, so they'll be overlapping a bit. Her ears. There's the booty. And then all the ribs are back there. And there's the heart that is drying. So now I'm just going to put a coat of white on everything, and then I can go in with some pinks and do the detailing on the nose and the ears and the udders. And the eyes will be in black with some shine on them. So that's what I'm about to do right now, is put a layer of white on everything. You can see her handle. All right, let's get some painting. All right, so I've started working on the paint job, and then I realized I need to catch everybody up. So, got the jaw painted. That's the inside, that's the outside. So this is the part that will show in the audience. And on camera, the colors aren't very dark, but that was kind of the idea. Just kind of a subtle pink. And her face isn't done, but she's got a little more detail. I'm gonna go in with some like gray and kind of make her look dirty. But there's her face so far with the jaw. She'll always have a little bit of an open mouth, just a little, but it'll hinge. It'll open like that. And I've started putting some paint on her legs to show her little hooves and her knobby knees. And just kind of putting, just kind of putting some schmutz on everything. I still have a lot of ribs still to paint white, but as you can see, I don't have any more room on my table. So I've got the witch's staff there, and I've got the harp over there. So once the harp is done and the witch's staff is done, I can put them somewhere else. And then as each piece of the ribs is finished, I can put it somewhere else and then paint more. This thing is nearly empty because I used it for another project, so I need more. Here's her udders. Gonna make them dirty too. Her ears. They'll look real cute once they're hung up. All right. Like she's been around. It occurred to me the other day in the car, because I think about this constantly, because once she's painted, the next step is putting her all together. Everything's got holes in it for the rope to attach. So I'm going to string them up like a necklace of pearls or something. Except I did not put a hole to attach her head. I could potentially attach the rope up here, but I kind of want her anchored a little bit more to everybody else. So I haven't decided yet if I'm going to just string her up here or if I want to try to drill a hole through back here. I can't put it here because that's where the attachment for the handle is, so I may have to put it here, then it'd be low down. I don't know. I'm still figuring that part out. But it did occur to me that, oh yeah, I didn't do that when I was attaching the handle. So, oops. So now I'm just painting. Making her legs a little bit dirty. Not too much though, because she still needs to be white. She is the cow is white as snow. She's dirty snow. A little bit of schmutz here and there. Just so it shows up. Just so it shows up on here. Alright, let's okay, bye.
Here's an update on our props. Look at that beautiful face. Her mouth does open, not much. I have to fix that. There's her face. This is the witch's staff. It's in 2 parts because I don't think it would fit in my car if it were in 1 part. So this will just go and slide in the top, and then I'll make it look nicer when it's in its home. This is Milky's booty. Cute little tail right there. Some legs, some ribs. I'm still painting. I have no more dining room table. Here's the harp. She is finished. I think actually this is the front. I'm not really sure it matters, but there's the harp. You know, it doesn't play very well. Here are the birds. So far, we still have about maybe another 8 to 10 to go, and then they'll be put on cords on a stick. And here's the goose, still in progress. All right, everybody is painted and has the proper amount of distressing, dirtying. I put some felt so that her ears wouldn't clack and make so much noise. She got quite an overbite. So now I am stringing everybody on. I've got these little pieces of PVC wrapped in duct tape just to cover up the writing as like spacers. So I'm going to string it all together. I need to attach the udder to the proper, see that's the very back legs. I might put it on this one. So I don't want the legs to get in the way because Jack has to pretend to milk her. Of course, this one is kind of getting onto the stomach. So maybe this one right here. Yeah. We'll see. I can't, once I get the udder down, I can't move it. So I'll have to be sure. All right, I'm gonna string them all up. All right, so I've got her all strung up, and I've got her like suspended between these 2 chairs because I'm trying to get her spaced out so that I can connect at the bottom here with this string, because I don't want the pieces to go like this way. It kind of help keep them aligned a little bit. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to connect, but I have an idea. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to give it a try. And yeah, trying to decide how far out I want her spaced. I've got my little spacers here, but they're a little bit shorter than I actually want her to be. And I think that's okay. Anyway, that's too much space back there. But all right, let me see if I can get this done. All right, so I've tied everybody together. I'm currently sitting under a table. I've got it tethered so it'll still swing. But they won't like swing away from each other. And it shows up here, however, when it's on stage, I don't think it'll show up as much. I'm sitting under a table so that I can access this sitting on the floor. You can see it's strung between 2 chairs like that. And there she is. Without head or boot or feet. And my cats are having a ball with the string. No! Do not milk her. She's not ready for milking. She's dry. Alright, so I got very distracted with finishing her and rehearsals and all of that I kind of forgot to film her finished product. So the last video I made was probably March. I did attach some felt because it was kind of clacky, it was kind of noisy, so that kind of softened the noise a little bit. I never did open her mouth. She just always kind of had this derpy look, but that kind of was her charm, right? I attached the rope with like zip ties. This whole thing is held together by duct tape and zip ties. So when I first brought her to rehearsal, I spent several days of rehearsal instead of emoting outwards, like watching her. And the first part was just to see how does she work, how does she operate, where does she need tweaking, making sure that I was holding her butt out and not like that so that her bones would stretch. And then I had to get used to not looking down at her while I was performing. I also had to get to like figure out how do I want to hold her, if I'm going to be turning this way or turning this way. I did have to switch hands a few times, so I learned how to switch hands. When I was performing with her, I wore weightlifting gloves so that I wouldn't get blisters and I had a better grip on her. I started holding the front mostly with just the pointy in my thumb so that I didn't get hand cramps. A couple of additions that I did, I discovered that her head needed to be tethered to the bottom of the ribs, so I added a black tether here to the underside piece. And the same thing for the hips. The hips were just like flowing free, so I had to attach the hips here to the ribs and the hips at the bottom to the ribs to keep her from just flying all over the place. The rope was slowly starting to loosen or stretch during our tech week, so I had to go back in and reinforce that with a couple more zip ties to keep the rope from stretching out so that she didn't get too long, because she didn't have enough ribs for that length. And I spent a lot of time like stretching out her ribs between scenes because they would get a little compressed, even with the spacers. The spacers weren't big enough. They should have been longer. Same thing, I had to reinforce her back here too. This handle got, like it's loose. The whole time I'm like, oh my God, this handle's loose, it's gonna come off. It never did though. But here's what I did do during the run of the show. It was 2 weekends, so we had 8 performances total. I did have to reinforce for her leg joints. Like I would get really nervous that the screws were sinking and we're just gonna pull through, because that was paper mache and duct tape and cardboard, so it wasn't the sturdiest. So I went in there with some hot glue and just glued the crap out of it here, and then I glued really hard on the back side too, because they're attached with lug nuts or lip nuts, and I was afraid they were gonna come off. So every leg just about got a glue cap at the back so the nut wouldn't come off. Here's some pictures of performances, by the way. I decided to play her like a dog. So she spent a lot of time like jumping up on people, right? She would jump up on people and she would, she would flip her head around. And she would get really excited whenever she was reunited with Jack after he had sold her to Baker, and then he got money from the Giant, and then he came back to buy her back again from the Baker, and she was so excited. And this is the scene where she dies, because she gets too excited and dies. She's super old. And so on stage, I had her jumping up and down like a little dog, and it was super cute. And Maestro looked at him, he's like, what? I don't even care. Jumping up and down, wagging her head really big, and it was super adorable, and one of her ears fell off on stage. I think it was this one. Just went, Droop. And I was like, oh, and I can't pick it up because my hands are full. And Jack looks at it and goes, oh no! And he picks up her ear. And so I'm like, okay, I learned that I could grip both hands with one hand. He hands it to me and I just try to put it in my pocket, and it just falls out of my pocket again. So I'm like I'm trying to go with it. I pick it up, put it in my pocket. So that was kind of funny. When we got off stage, I fixed it for the next scene, but I did make her a little golden bow that I attached with Velcro here, because in Act 2, Jack and his mom are rich, and so they're wearing nicer clothes, so Milky got a little golden bow to wear. She charmed the audience. Everybody loved her. The actress that played Cinderella loved her so much that she almost cried every time she looked at her. And maybe it's her biological clock. I don't know, but she's always like, I'm gonna cry, she's so cute. Oh, they all petted her like she was real, like she was a dog. Like everyone treated her like that, even backstage. But I learned that she could bow. Like I had her bow when the prince came on stage, right? And I figured out how to make her sit so she could just kind of look around whenever people were having a moment and she wasn't involved. You know, she could even lay down when she was tired. You know, so she would like scratch her head. And when she died, I basically just dropped her. And it was pretty funny. But yeah, she held up. And the director said I could keep her because I made her. And she lives on the refrigerator in my garage. So, that was my Milky White build. Clearly muddling through the whole process. I'm pleased with the final result. Definitely would have made some changes. Now having operated with her, knowing what she kind of has to go through, there are some things I would have reinforced the legs better. I would have put larger spacers between the ribs. She did look kind of compressed on stage, and that wasn't my intention, so I might have doubled up the foam board and made each rib a little bit thicker just to give her a little more body. Her butt was much, much larger than I intended in my vision, so she definitely inherited her mama's butt. And that's me. So I would have made that maybe a little bit smaller, but overall, I like her, I'm pleased with her, and a lot of people just really enjoyed watching her on stage because she's awfully cute. And that's the end.